be the first thing you create with a Green Lantern ring? Ho, what a question you ask. So crazy. I'd make like a bubble. Not an igloo because I'm in Canada, calm down. But like Fortress of Solitude around me. Maybe I'd have the ring expand out some like rifles and stuff on the peaks of it just to protect me a little bit. Oh, I'm trying to keep out the Green Lantern movie. That's what I'm doing. I do that to surround me so I never have to experience that type of movie ever again. Sorry, Ryan Reynolds. You're great in Deadpool. Let's start the show. It's a great day on the internet, everybody. Welcome to Assemble. I'm Matt. Thank you so much for joining us on Free For All Friday. Now we are taking all of your questions and we're going through them today. And man, oh man, we got some amazing ones from all of you. Thank you so much for submitting them. And if you're new, we answer questions from the community on this Friday's show. And we take all of their Twitch links, their Twitter, their YouTube, their blogs. We put all of their links in the description below so all of you have the chance to go please check them out because they are great supporters of me and I want to make sure that I'm supporting them. Go check them out. So let's get right into these questions because it is all DC themed this week. Very excited. And I love everything we've got from the game announcements to all of the new movies, the trailers, everything that came out. So let's get right into it right now. Marcadino writes in and says, why do you think Robin gets so much hate from people? Is it just because he's been portrayed as Batman's cheesy little sidekick in the past, or is there more to it than that? And do you know that the original Robin was actually a girl? Yes, I do. I think because he's been portrayed for so many years and generations within the comics as this dorky sidekick, and it's taken forever for us to actually come to grips with like Robin's a very cool character, and we got Red Hood and we've got Nightwing and we have different versions of Robin as a character within the comic books. But I think it's because that's also a narrow audience, right? And I think when the general audience and general viewer thinks of Robin, they do think of Batman's little kid sidekick who from the 60s TV show was all wham bam punch and like the cheesy little lines and then the crazy little tight outfit where the junk is just right there. Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. You're trying to get over this giant hump where that character has way more depth and there's way more to him than just the cheesy lines and being Batman's little guy. Because you imagine if they did a proper like Jason Todd story, if they went down the rabbit hole of Nightwing, if they went down to Red Hood, and got really mainstream audiences exposed to that character, then I think they would really understand and grasp it. So I think that the general viewing audience just isn't that exposed to Robin as a character. And not that they don't have interest for it, but they go back and you can look at the Schumacher movies, and I think your friends, your casual viewing friends, your family, they're gonna say, oh yeah, Robin, they did that in the movies before, and he was kind of dorky. And it's because the movies weren't that good with it. And I think we're getting to a kind of a cross point right now where we can get those movies. And I think directors and producers and people out there are actually more engaged and more in tune that these stories do have legs, and we get movies like Logan, we get Deadpool, which originally, it's a rated R film that is with a well-known character to us in this universe of fans, but to a general viewing audience, not that well known. Guardians of the Galaxy is an excellent example too. Come on, how many of us are reading Guardians of the Galaxy comic books? Were before the movie. And that movie was amazing, and they took a chance on it, and look what happened. So I think that they can take more chances because they're calculated risks. I hope that answers your question. I'd be looking for a Rob movie. I love the comics. I love the character. I loved him in the animated series. That stuff hits home for me, and that's what I view Robin as, and not as like just the dorky G. Willikers Batman sidekick. Thanks for the question though. Seeing as the Batman looks like it's going to be more critically successful than Snyder's Justice League, do you think Warner Brothers attempts to shoehorn Pattinson's Batman into the DCEU? Or let Matt Reeves continue to finish his vision, assuming he has one? Brandon, this is a very good question. I do think that they are going to let the Batman be its own universe. I think that they're going to let it breathe. I think that they're going to let it do its own thing and not be confined to things in the DCEU. I think it'd be very early on as well. And if this movie is as successful as we kind of hope it will be, I think that it's almost that reset button. We're already getting the Justice League multiverse pieces that are coming out, like with regards to the Snyder cut. And we're getting Batman with Ben Affleck, and we're getting the rumors of Michael Keaton joining there as well to have this crossover tie-in. There's a lot of different ways they can play with this. On one hand, I feel like it should just be its own movie, maybe its own trilogy if it really goes well. It feels like it's a little bit of a departure from what we've experienced so far with DC in the films, like with Aquaman and Wonder Woman and all of that. I think it'd be odd to be able to shoehorn Pattinson into that universe. They don't seem to share the same vibe overall, if that makes sense. So I think they let him do his own thing. And then I think that we just kind of see how it evolves. With the introduction of like the multiverse, it does allow for a lot. Maybe we see a scenario where it does play out in the film where we have, you know, a Ben Affleck Batman, a Keaton Batman, and we have this Pattinson Batman, and maybe there is a bit of a crossover. Maybe it creates this own multiverse piece, and they do kind of connect those dots and those threads so that it would line up another Justice League movie down the road. I don't know. It's very interesting. A lot of it's very intriguing, I'll say that. Thanks, Brandon. Kessel Winks writes in, did anybody else get Borderlands type vibes coming from Suicide Squad? That's mostly coming from hearing it's going to be a third-person shooter and comparing the trailer to Borderlands intro scenes. And do you think we see the Batman slip up and kill in this movie? So there's really great points within there, sir. The Suicide Squad, if you're talking about that whole universe, yeah, I think that they are going to go for more of this fun, I don't want to say lighthearted, because they tried to do something where it was dark and ominous with the original Suicide Squad, and now we have this new adaptation of it. I really think that they're going to go and try again. If they are going to go for a Borderlands style, and I know what you're talking about in terms of just like the aesthetics and really like the, I don't know, the jokiness to their action. I get where you're coming from. I'd almost feel like, good, if they can commit to it and the dialogue is there and they make the characters really strong, then I'm all in. I have no affinity for the Suicide Squad, like comic book series. The first film was very, very pedestrian. It was very, very standard and simple. So obviously like it had its own problems. It's a cool idea. And I think as we look at the new game that's coming out as well, I think that there's a lot of opportunity there with how they can treat Suicide Squad. I just have a challenge with it because I'm like, I got invested enough in Harley Quinn and Deadshot and these other characters who in their own right are great, but fighting them against the good guys, it's such a departure from what gamers and moviegoers are used to. It's being able to play as Thanos, but you're not even getting Thanos or the Joker. You're getting this other squad of characters. And we've had the standalone Joker movie, which shows us that, yes, we can look at it from, you know, the villain side where Arthur in the Joker is, yes, he is the bad guy. He's the Joker, but you're getting an understanding of the human behind it. And I don't know if we're going to get that within Suicide Squad. I think we're going to get a fun popcorn movie to go with it. To answer the second half of the question with, do I think that the Batman is going to end up slipping up and killing in this movie? I think there's a very big potential of it. I actually thought the exact same thing when I've rewatched the trailer how many times now, but I actually kind of thought the same thing. What if they take it just really one step further and we get a entirely different version of Batman, or you get one that is willing to compromise? Because we did see that with the Nolan films, right? They wanted to highlight that with The Dark Knight specifically, that Joker was really trying to push Batman beyond his limits and get him to kill, to pick one or the other. That kind of contrast with the character. Here, from what we've seen already, we are getting a dark Batman. I kind of hope we get one that does push beyond his limits and that he does, you know, he does kill within the movie. Maybe as almost to show him as a character development piece that by doing that, he is crossing a line himself that, you know, he knows he can never go back, or that it teaches him that he shouldn't go that far. Because I think if you give Batman that piece of he's willing to kill and he's willing to take others out, take out other bad guys to any means necessary, it almost can create this scenario of he's got nowhere else to go as a character, right? What do we do with Batman if he's willing to kill all the bad guys all the time? Then you're just going to probably end up wondering, well, why didn't he just snap that guy's neck? But the next scene or later in the movie, he did end up killing this guy. So I think that's where you run the risk. So I'm kind of two minds of it. On one hand, yeah, it'd be cool because it would be different. And we're seeing a different Batman already. So do we see a Batman that is so dark and so beyond the norm, we're not used to it? They could probably make that story arc work. On the other hand, I think that it's a giant risk of if you take that away and you just let Batman kind of open up and be a killer, be a vigilante killer. I think you end up crossing this line that it ends up feeling like, why doesn't he just get rid of everybody so quickly? Why would he not sacrifice or eliminate this bad guy versus this? And that's kind of the risk, but it's still very, very interesting. I can't wait to see what they do with the movie. Thanks for the question. The Richter writes in, good day to you, sir. I love your profile pic, by the way. Spot on. Is the Snyder cut of Justice League going to feel like a completely different movie? Is Darkseid just going to be teased in the movie, or will he actually have some decent screen time? The Richter, this is quite the dilemma, isn't it? Because we don't quite know what we're gonna get out of this film. I think that there's a huge piece of us that really hopes that we're getting this giant redo of the movie. And it sounds like we kind of are, because we're getting a 4-hour cut of this film, which the original Justice League was what, over 2 hours? Like, it was really long, and people felt like with Batman v Superman, it could have been 2 movies, and Justice League was very long, so it should either been tighter or spaced out into 2 films. I hope tonally it does feel like an entirely different movie. I hope that we're getting so much more of a character development within Justice League that we feel like Cyborg and Flash and Wonder Woman have a bigger role and a bigger stake, and maybe we get more with Batman in general instead of just these kind of like quick packed action sequences where we have to shoehorn everybody in and now they're the Justice League and they're all together and everything's fine. Maybe making it such a grand movie of 4 hours that it allows it to breathe that way. And that's kind of my hope, is that you come out of it feeling like that was different enough. It had a lot of the remnants and pieces of the original film that we all watched, but it felt different enough that I was getting something new. I think Snyder knows that, and I think that he has to go with that idea. You can't hype this, you can't push this out of a redo. The fans wanted it, they asked for it, they got it. If it's a couple of additional scenes, I think then it's kind of like, well, what was the point of that? So it is a gamble in itself. We're all very excited as DC fans to get this, but I think we're all going to be looking at it very, very carefully and very critically because we know what the Justice League movie was. We're probably all going to go and rewatch original Justice League and then watch the Snyder cut like back to back because we want to know those differences. So it is a risk. I do hope and I think that they are going to be different films overall. As it comes to Darkseid, I did wonder this too, because you get a glimpse, you get him like fully there. They do a full CGI sequence of Darkseid. He's in the movie, but it's to what degree? I can't see it being Darkseid being a giant component to the movie in terms of like the full villain that we're gonna get. I hope it's not like a dream sequence like we got with Batman. I hope that maybe we are getting the introduction of Darkseid, maybe towards the end of the movie. But are we all going to be sitting there wondering when's the reveal going to be? I mean, maybe they do it early on in the movie, right? Maybe you get an introduction to Darkseid like first 30 minutes to kind of set it all up, and then we end up building towards us to the Justice League fighting Darkseid at the end. I'm not sure, but we didn't get any inclination of that within Justice League. So I feel like unless they reshot half a movie or basically an entire film's worth within a fight scene of them fighting Darkseid, I don't know if we're going to get that. I wonder if we're going to get some introductions. Because remember with Thanos, and it's MCU versus DCU, and they're done differently. But we had so much build-up with Thanos. And I know you don't want to copy that necessarily if you're DC. You don't want to go down that path. You want to treat their villains and their characters differently. They're different universes. But I feel like MCU, what they did really well with Thanos is that you've got these little Easter eggs and you've got these little extra bits leading up to the final reveal and interaction of Thanos. And people were all waiting for it. And Darkseid, we don't have that yet. we're piecing it together as fans, but if you're the average superhero fan who doesn't get into the comics that deeply, you don't have really any remnants of like who Darkseid is. If you're a Batman fan, you're going to see this because of Batman, then you're kind of looking at it for the basic characters and a regular plot, and you'd probably be happy with it. So I think Darkseid ends up being a pivotal role within the film, but I don't think he is going to be the film. But I hope I'm wrong. Thank you for the question, sir. Folks, if you're new to Assemble and Free For All Friday, we do this every Friday, answering the community questions. And we have our Top Shelf Tuesday, which is our ranking series. And we have our figure and statue unboxing reviews that happen every single Wednesday. So all the stuff behind me, yeah, we unbox it and we talk about it and we go in depth about what we like and don't like. So if you guys enjoy the show, do me a solid, subscribe, hit the notification bell, maybe like and leave a comment too if you feel like it. And if it's your kind of content, I'd love for you guys to be able to engage with us. We have an amazing community out there, so I'd love you guys to be able to join with us. You can also check us out on Twitter and Instagram. Go to assemble_show on Twitter and go to Instagram and hit Assemble Show. You'll find us there, and we're going to do sneak peeks and we do unboxings and announcements and things like that. So check us out online and join the Assemble community. Derek writes in, which do you think will be bigger hit, the Suicide Squad or Gotham Knights? And also, do you think the Riddler will be the only main villain in the Batman, or will they throw some Arkham Origins crap in there too? Derek, this is a great two-part question. Thank you so much for dropping it in. Your first question is really interesting, Derek, because we're getting two different games, and I think there was some discussion rumored, or maybe it was confirmed, that the WB and Rocksteady basically flipped projects where they were both working on the other one, then they completely flipped gears. I could be wrong on that. You guys tell me, but I thought that they actually had the movies all lined. I thought they already had the games already lined up, and then they completely twisted it. I don't know yet what Suicide Squad game is going to be. It's Rocksteady, so I have all the faith in the world that they're going to be able to pull off whatever it is that they want to pull off with this game. It's not a Batman game, right? It's Suicide Squad and the Justice League. It's going to be really interesting where they go with it. Again, going back to the previous questions and dealing with like the movies, I'm not huge into Suicide Squad, but I have all the faith that Rocksteady is going to get me to care. And I believe that that developer is going to make me want to play the game and care about Harley Quinn and the characters. But we don't know what the role is of Justice League. Maybe it's going to be split. Maybe it's going to be half. Maybe it's going to be completely flipped on its head and we're just going to be blindsided by how amazing it is. I have a bit of a fear and reservation about Suicide Squad for the game because I worry that it is going to be all about the villains taking on Justice League. And I worry that I would be sitting there wanting to play as Superman finally in a Rocksteady game, and I'm not going to have that opportunity unless it's like some side mission or something else playable in a DLC or something like that. But maybe it gets completely thrown on its head, Derek. Maybe you get half a game of Suicide Squad from their perspective, and you get half a game with the perspective of Justice League. And then you're kind of getting it all, or it's all woven in between each other, so you are getting both sides of it, and you get this amazing 50-hour story. We don't know yet. I'm curious about how it will all come together, but I do believe that Rocksteady is going to give us something great. When it comes to WB and Gotham Knights, that game, I feel like I know what I'm getting, and I'm not disappointed by that whatsoever. I'm happy that I'm going to be getting a Batman game with WB, who did a great job with Arkham Origins. Say what you will, you can disagree, but I liked Origins. That Mr. Freeze mission was great. Loved a lot of it. Now, they're not going to be tied together, obviously, in the same universe, because remember, if you got Batgirl in this game, Batgirl was Oracle and, shot and in the wheelchair and everything, so we're not playing in that necessarily. But to have it not be a straightforward Batman game that we've seen from Arkham in the past, I think that this is refreshing, and I think it's going to give us something different. It's familiar enough that looking at how the traversal is, the combat, it's all of those kind of check marks for me of yep, it's got all of those key pieces that I love from the Arkham games, but a completely different story. Yeah, give me Nightwing, give me Robin, give me Batman, give me Batgirl, give me Red Hood. Show me these characters and show me a good enough story between all of them. Co-op built into it, great. Maybe they can use more of that tag team approach that they did when we had the Arkham games, where they actually would swoop in and Robin would drop in. You know, you double team all of these guys. That stuff's different. So I'm excited that WB is going to do something that is, it's kind of guaranteed to hit a home run as long as the story's flushed out. And again, I think that they're going to tell an amazing story, and it looks next gen. It's WB that I have the faith in that they're going to do a really good job with that. And Rocksteady in this case, I have a lot of question marks, but I'm still very excited for both. Now for your second question, Derek, do I think that the Riddler is going to be the main protagonist in the Batman? I hope so, and I hope that they don't go too character heavy. I don't think they will. I think you want to try and tell a very straightforward, grounded Batman movie that is simple and it's dynamic and it's got depth to it. And I think it gets very muddied, like we've seen over the years, when you try to introduce multiple characters into this thing, whether it be a game or it be the movies. We get situations like Spider-Man where we have way too many characters in there and then they don't matter. I hope it's Riddler. I think we saw glimpses of Catwoman in there. So maybe there's going to be supporting characters, or maybe even just the introductions and threads of villains. That's okay with me, but as long as Riddler is kind of the main focus, the main villain that we're trying to have a story based around, and Batman using his strength as well as detective skills properly, then I think you can get a really great movie out of this. I just don't want it to be muddy with 3, 4, or 5 villains, because if they worry that, you know, the Riddler isn't a strong enough character, which he is. So as long as you have a good story behind it, I think it just needs one-on-one. Derek, thank you so much for your questions. Those were awesome. Chris writes in, Rumble Pack. Good day to you, sir. Hope you're well. Hope your streams over on Twitch are doing well. Guys, go check out Rumble Pack. Description below. His Twitch, fantastic. Would you like to see the standalone Joker movie crossover into the Batman? Why or why not? Chris also writes in that he says, me personally, no, but I see a lot of people theorizing about this. For me, I don't really want Joker, the standalone Joker movie, to cross over into this universe of Batman. Because then again, I don't know what we're going to get when it comes to Justice League and the multiverse. I think Joker, and we've seen this from the directors and the writers of it, they very much wanted to tell an Arthur story surrounding Joker, how that character came to be, and they did that. And I think it's just kind of that, okay, we want to tell this standalone story of this version of the Joker with Joaquin, and they accomplish that, and then they move on to an entirely different project. I think it is completely standalone. I don't think that we're going to see a crossover. We could get a version of Joker to cross over, but again, you want to see them do it their way. And I think we're a little bit, or I should say that I'm a little bit burnt out from the Joker stories. You could introduce a Joker to me tomorrow and I'll probably still love it, but I want to give the other characters within DC, within the Batman universe, a chance to breathe and a chance to really shine. We have seen, now we've seen a couple of different versions of Joker within the last 10 years. I think it's a safe character to do, but I worry that we get down into the realm, and we're touching it a little bit with the last version of Joker in Suicide Squad, where it's starting to become familiar like Green Goblin and Spider-Man and the Raimi series. I was done. I was like, why are we getting another version of Goblin? Like, move away. There is just a plethora of characters and villains that you can tell within a Spider-Man story, and they wanted to keep hammering this Goblin story back, and I was just done with it. And I worry that with Joker, we've seen so many attempts and versions of this, and some are fantastic and some are lukewarm. I'd like to see them take a break and not have a crossover. I want to let Robert Pattinson, who's young enough in this, and if the movie is successful, to let it really go and shine on its own and be something different. Maybe it does dabble within DC, the DCEU later, but I want it to do its own thing with its own characters and give me a break from Joker for like 2 films. And not do a Nolan approach of like one basic movie with Riddler, then go to Joker, and then go to somebody else. Maybe you do kind of like a trilogy and it's a crescendo of ending with the Joker in a different version. Be interested to see about that, Chris. But yeah, I do want to see it just kind of be its own thing and let it all breathe. Thanks, buddy. Final question of the day comes in from Dustin Mac 1993. Good day, sir. Thank you for being such an amazing supporter of the show. Who are you going to main in the Kill the Justice League game? Deadshot. For now. But is it going to be like, again, it's Marvel, is it going to be like Marvel's Avengers? And I don't mean like from, aesthetics. I think the quality is going to be very, very high because we're getting Rocksteady behind this. Who am I going to main? Deadshot. for now. I'll play with Harley. Boomerang is in there. Like, there's going to be more and more characters, and I wonder if they're going to build this out as not a free-to-play game by any stretch, but similar to Marvel Avengers, where drop in a character, pick a different villain, that kind of thing, and see where they go with it. I don't want it to get spread out too thin. I like having a core group of characters and I just play with them and that's it. And frankly, when you get into a game like, Marvel's Avengers, and they're talking about all the different characters and there's leaks of different characters that are going to be dropping within that game, I already have my reservations on that because just the way I play, I want to pick a couple of characters and I'm going to go and mainline them. I'm going to pick Iron Man, maybe Hulk, Black Widow, Spider-Man when it comes out, and then I want to get them skilled up and I want to get their skills up and I want to rank them higher and higher because one, I don't have time, and two, I just like this. I want to play with the characters I like. So I'm going to see who feels the best. I like Deadshot. I think that he's got really good skills and I like all of the rifle that could be introduced to it. Harley is going to be fun to play just as Harley Quinn, but we've had her within the previous games, and that's why I'm so interested within the Suicide Squad game to see how they're going to approach this whole thing. And like I said earlier, maybe it's going to be a split game. So maybe my answer is going to be Superman. We don't know, but we can only hope. Ladies and gentlemen, this wraps up Free For All Friday. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for all of the questions. And like I said earlier, if you guys can, look at the description below because I've left all of these amazing community members, their links for their YouTube, their Twitter, their Twitch, their blogs, and so on. Please go check them out and please support them as they have supported me. This kind of wraps up our whole DC fandom month, I guess, what we've been doing on the show, from our unboxings that we have just done, like our Batmobile that we just released, to our ranking videos, as well as the Free For All Fridays with you guys being awesome and posing all of your DC questions. These were really, really great. So really happy to go in depth with them with you. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to be shifting gears in the next couple of weeks because everything is going to be Marvel. We're getting that Marvel's Avengers release coming down the pipe, and I'm going in depth on that guy. And we are going to cover all things Marvel for probably the month of September. So I'm very excited to be able to deep dive that with all of you. If you guys enjoyed the show, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to get updates on videos like this. And as always, thank you for assembling with us. See ya.